one for President Donald J. Trump. What is going on in the United States of America is absolutely dreadful. We are in the last straight. What is it? The 4th of November is the election. Erol Morkoc is a spokesman for Republicans overseas. Erol, I just guess, you know, what are we, 3 or 4 days out? It's time to just ask you, you know, what do you think? From what I can see, Donald Trump appears to be pulling ahead. I thought that once again, I mean, obviously calling his voters garbage is better than calling them deplorables, but once again, that's badly backfired. So what are we saying?
I think we're saying that Trump's poised to take this one. I mean, keep in mind, they called us Nazis a few days before they called us garbage. So, you know, the level of the insults aren't winning any votes for them. In every single metric of polling, whether it's early voting, polling, in all the swing states, we have the lead. And people have been, I think, terrified for the last 2 or 3 weeks to say that publicly, because you don't want to be the guy with egg on your face, right?
Like Neil Kinnock did in this country.
I want to ask you this thing that you and I have talked about before, which I think is grossly irresponsible by media companies, and we will not have be on this page. This suggestion that there will be no electoral fraud whatsoever. Any discussion of any electoral fraud will be banned. Any coverage of legitimate legal challenges to results will be ridiculed and attacked. And essentially, any public official who asserts that he has conducted the election properly will be believed in all cases, even flying in the face of evidence. I have to say to you, you cannot run a serious democracy without proper scrutiny of the process and without accepting that some people will attempt to commit electoral fraud. And there's an important job of the media, of counting agents and of political parties to monitor and regulate that wrongdoing.
I agree completely. And speaking on that, in Michigan, 161,000 ballots were going to be duplicate counted until the RNC got involved, led by Trump, to stop that. We have one situation, this is crazy, in Michigan, a Chinese student has voted. And the way the voting system works in America, once the ballot goes in, to prevent the ballot from being tracked back, you can't track it back. Yeah. And so their Secretary of State has said the voters' vote will count. So there's a guarantee. So if you say anything against this, they call you, fake news, or they say you're a conspiracy person. But look, the facts are there. They've been trying to cheat.
I've got a very dear friend of mine who ran for a seat called Englefield Green East. For those of you that don't know, there's a University of London college called Royal Holloway, which is in Englefield Green East. And what the college did was they registered every single person in the Hall of Residence as a voter, forgetting the fact that you could only vote if you're from the UK or the EU. And my friend went down to the student union on the Friday night, having won on the Thursday, and people from Serbia and people from China and people from Taiwan, who all received their polling cards, thought they were eligible to vote and all went out and voted. And so, obviously he went back and complained about it. It was a relatively safe seat, so it's unlikely to have affected the results. But things like that need to be called out. And this stupidity that we got from Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, that it was unacceptable to even debate this, it's just nonsense.
Twitter were covering up at the time. They covered up the Biden laptop, didn't they?
Yes.
Before Elon Musk owned them.
You see Mark Zuckerberg, how he's basically started covering his bases. He sees the writing on the wall, and he knows what they did was so dishonest, borderline unethical in a maybe a larger capacity, and what all of the big tech sector did to the Trump campaign in 2020.
Okay, Erol, well, I'll tell you what, I'm so pleased they've got the thing, the clip, because Biden called Trump supporters garbage, and Trump turned up in a garbage truck. Take it away.
So this outfit, is when he called us all garbage. How stupid. What a stupid word. That blows deplorable away, don't you think? Of course, I thought irredeemable when she said deplorable or irredeemable. I thought irredeemable was actually worse, but deplorable seemed to catch up. But this garbage stuff blows it away. So I'm in this beautiful plane. I'm enjoying myself. I have a wonderful suit on. And one of my people came in and said, "Sir, the word garbage is the hottest thing right now out there. The hottest thing out there. Sir, would you like to drive a garbage truck?"
It does suit him, though, doesn't it? He looks better than that. But he's very confident, isn't he? At the start of the campaign, he wasn't. And his confidence comes out. He's like a comedian. He gets more and more confident. I have
to say, though, I will say one thing, much I like Donald Trump. The high-vis jacket was not as orange as his face.
No. But he also can drive a garbage truck, run VT.
And I think that the comment made by really both of them, because there are really two of them, about being garbage, maybe 250 million people, they shouldn't be talking. That's like deplorable for Hillary. This is the deplorable for Hillary. And I think this is worse, actually. For Joe Biden to make that statement, it's really a disgrace.
And after that, he went on his round, and he's actually did know how to crush all the things when the bin men were chucking it in the back. He was really dedicated.
I'll tell you something. I remember the election in 2010 in Morecambe and Lonsdale, where a guy ran called David Morris, who was a hairdresser, and the Labour Party made the catastrophic mistake. Hairdresser. Sorry, I've got a speech impediment. The Labour Party knocked on the door of people in Heysham and started saying, do you think it's appropriate that somebody who's only a hairdresser is running for Parliament? And of course they went, well, actually, you know what, I'm a plumber and my wife's a beautician. Yeah. I don't see why a hairdresser can't be a member of Parliament. Don't be so bloody snobby. But it's amazing, isn't it, Errol, the way that the political left who claim to speak for the people are so quick to mock somebody who say they didn't go to university or they have a job that's more manual than managerial. And I think it's total nonsense. Snobbery. I'm always polite to all the people who work here, the cleaners and everybody, because we're all a team together. But the left are such snobs.
It is, and that's why Donald Trump, when he went to McDonald's and when he did this garbage truck thing, one of the interesting things for your viewers to think about is he doesn't strip down from his suit, you know? He doesn't come in the room and say, hey, I'm one of you. I really have worked here. He comes in still as the person he is. He puts it on over, you know? He has an endearing kind of personality to him. He turned, basically, flip the script. His campaign is the campaign of joy. Kamala Harris's campaign is a campaign of rage and hatred.
It's just hatred, isn't it, in the end?
But it's not fake. Apparently, there's loads of McDonald's wrappers in the Oval Office. He knows his McDonald's and all the range and secret menu even. I mean, he's not a snob at all, even though he's a billionaire. He's a guy from the streets, really, isn't he? Yeah. I mean, in New York, because he built skyscrapers, the people who deal with this concrete are the mafia. You have to be a bit streetwise in Manhattan, or you'll end up in the concrete. So he knows how to operate, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He's dealt with very tough cookies in his professional career before government service. And when he goes in and he does these kind of things, he endears himself to the everyman, the working man. Nobody, and the funny thing is the left will get out there and be like, he didn't actually work at McDonald's, as though we were saying he was actually an employee.
Carmela never did, though. They photoshopped her head on another woman, didn't they?
That is true. It's Stolen McValor.
And it was a white woman. And they didn't bother changing her skin colour as well. It was a bit lazy photoshopping.
Stolen McValor.
The left can't meme.
Now, Errol, I want you to be entirely honest with me. Is Stolen McValor one of yours, or did you see it somewhere else?
I saw it somewhere else.
Oh, damn.
It's too good.
Where's Hamburglar gone? You never hear of Hamburglar anymore. Political prisoner, probably.
Hamburglar's been given early release in the new council house.
Yeah. 70 grand a year.
So explain to us the way it works now, because I've said to people about the Electoral College, something, by the way, that I'm strongly in favour of, and just to explain to everybody, it's really simple. You get congressmen based on population, everybody gets 2 senators, and then there's obviously 1 governor, and that total number as the number of the Electoral College. And what that means is, it means Rhode Island has, 5 votes, even though they've only got 2 congressmen, because obviously we don't want the smaller states to be completely ignored. But what that means is, we need to look out for which states are the really important ones now. California presumably goes for Kamala Harris. What about Florida? And can you give us, bear in mind we're in the UK, so we don't want to do it in the detail perhaps you might do in the United States of America, but can you give us a sense of how the country splits?
So Florida has gone from what was considered a purple state, keep in mind it went for Obama and it went for Bush, to now being solidly red, blood red.
Red being Republican, Donald Trump.
Yeah, in a positive way. It's our California, along with
what's
Texas.
happened?
Well, what's happened is the people have gotten out and started registering voters. The ground game the Republicans have put together since the Tea Party and since Donald Trump has changed the entire state, getting people civically active, encouraging people to actually vote.
Somebody told me that with Florida, it's slightly a double-edged sword because there are a lot of new retirement villages opened there, and actually people have come from other states and potentially made the Republicans weaker. Is there any truth in that?
Those people are considered snowbirds, and a lot of them have residency actually in their home state up north. There has been imported people, but one thing in these Republican states is a lot of the people coming are actually fleeing these blue states and fleeing those ideologies. They aren't all bringing their ideology with them. So, the state has gone very strongly red. Now, the real toss-ups for your viewers on a broad spectrum are going to be Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. That's where the election.
Yeah, but Pennsylvania is the most important. I mean, Biden calling them garbage, that will speak, because I used to go there quite a lot. A lot of Americans will just sit on their couch and won't bother voting, they haven't got passports, but calling them garbage, they'll all be now, they'll go out and vote now. And do you think Biden is actually trying to do Carmela in, get her back for what happened?
Well, you got to think about it. With an ally like Joe Biden, who needs enemies in the Kamala camp?
I was thinking that. He doesn't want us to win, I don't think. Often they say people in the same parties are actually the biggest enemies because they're actually competing with each other.
Oh, that's a huge point for this. This inside the Biden regime and the Kamala regime, totally different actors completely, and they're butting heads. They
hate each other. Yeah,
together. They hate each other. And here's the thing: Scranton Joe Biden, Pennsylvania Joe, the man who won this, the man who got 14 million people in the primary, the sitting U.S. president. They just handed all of that away, and they took on their side.
So you saying, just to be clear, I mean, obviously, Scranton's in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
It's where the Office USA was based, I think. Are we saying Joe Biden definitely would have won Pennsylvania?
Not definitely, but he won by 80,000 real votes last time. And that yes, we've changed the voter rolls in the sense that we've registered more Republicans than Democrats. We focus completely, but he still is a son of Pennsylvania, and he polls well with those coal workers, with those blue collar people. They sort of like his kind of affable persona. And honestly, Kamala Harris is not the kind of person that
she's clearly personally quite unpleasant, isn't she?
No, she's an awful person. And she was a prosecutor. Americans don't exactly like the personality type of the one who wields the gavel in these courtrooms, because in America you have a 99% conviction rate in most cities because everybody's forced to plead guilty.
Errol, I'm going to stop you here simply because Donald Trump has started speaking in Henderson, Nevada. Let's go to that. Thank you so much, Errol.
Better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before.